yeah, maybe like let's talk about your businesses, what's going on with your startups, what's going on in art. Let me introduce like the friend of mine's. Yeah, we shall be first. Christina, maybe you
Hi,
introduce yourself, please.
So thanks for having me on that live session with Judy and Manana. So I'm very honored to actually be finally in a talk with Judy. I really appreciate what you do and also your vision for that art space. So I was running for 10 years art fairs, and I saw the rise of file-based art. And I was just seeing how hard it was for everyone to deal with it. For the dealers and the artists wanted to show work, but in a white space, it's just very, very difficult. So a year ago, I founded together with a friend of mine, blockchain.art. And we are currently testing the alpha version of basically it's a management system plus an integrated sales platform based on our own blockchain that we are building. So I started out with a different assumption. So we pivoted from Ethereum based to own blockchain. And so we are also like the corporate webpage gonna go live, the updated version. And what is significant? So what we do, we include royalties for artists. This is also, and also a potential royalty if artists and gallery agree for galleries if they have been part of producing artworks, for example. So they can agree on a rate and if there's a royalty needed. But I believe strongly in the whole ecosystem that there should be place also on the blockchain and in that system for all participants of the art world. So, and my MVP is directed at galleries to represent digital artists and to either include them directly as a web shop for file-based work integrated into their own website or use our marketplace alternatively. And but first it's directed at galleries because I see also, and this has been my work and my experience as a fair director, that artists do produce file-based work, but it's so hard for galleries to do that to show. It's also very expensive. Technology also updates itself very fast. And I also see that artists want to be represented by galleries, not all of them, obviously, but the ones. And so that's a way how a gallery can represent a digital-based artist just by really showing and making shows online. And I think this is a great example is Tom Webb. He launched 2 weeks ago a show with König Gallery in Berlin. So, and they haven't shown in a physical space before, but in a purely digital. And I think that's a really nice example. So basically, I target these kinds of galleries that are already working with digital artists in one way or the other, so that you have an interface that you can manage the contracts so that they can agree, and then they can put it out there so that both of them have an agreement system, and then that you can track your artwork, and that it's just also legally as a management system also sound. So this is, and it's also like the barrier is low for a gallery to actually enter that space. If you have artists, and most of galleries I know, their artists have one way or the other a digital work, whether it's a digital video or if it's photography or it's sound, they do that. So they can already try and work with it. I'm a strong believer. I mean, I love digital art. I've been always a supporter of digital art, and I just want to make it easier basically for the ecosystem to use it. Et voilà.
Excellent. That sounds fascinating.
Thank you, Christina. Yeah, and you base it in San Francisco, in Silicon Valley.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
which has
so important for me. Yeah, because you're from like the technologist side, and yeah, I'm so excited because Judy and like myself, they from New York City.
But you know, it has also, it's not necessarily an art city. So New York is much more an art city. San Francisco I really found my key engineer. My engineers are in San Francisco, and they are art lovers and they're good listeners. But it took me a while to find them, to be quite frank. But I think New York, so that's why I was very happy to have Judy, and also, New York is a beloved city for the arts, and things are happening, and this is the beating heart. And I really hope that this very strong heartbeat will be pulsating as strong again as it was before.
It's interesting you say that, because before I introduce myself.
Yeah, Judy, maybe.
Yeah. But just to say that when we had the pandemic and we had some looting, and Soho was completely closed. Actually, artists, somebody organized these artists to come and paint on the boarded storefronts, and for several weeks, or probably maybe like a month, all of Soho became like this alfresco art gallery, and so it was really something to see. And then like the stores opened again, and I kind of missed the art. But having said that, I am Judy Mam. I am the founder of DADA.art. I know Manana from way back. Manana, I think that
more than 2 years.
Yeah, you're going to be surprised about at how we have kind of evolved as well. But DADA is a visual conversation platform. It's a place where people make art together. You make a drawing and somebody can reply with another drawing. We have a simple digital tool that everybody uses. It's open to everyone. And what happens, we have been creating digital art. We have the largest collection of digital art ready to be tokenized as NFTs, because we have over 120,000 drawings made by people from all over the world. And we are currently embarked on creating a new economy for artists that is not dependent on markets. We call it the invisible economy. And it's a way in which we are going to reward our community for participating. Artists, collectors, art lovers, supporters. We're going to be issuing a token, a token. We are currently designing it and thinking about the governance of this thing. But in the end, because we're a collaborative platform, and because we have people drawing together from all over the world, and the resulting art is collaborative, we felt that we needed to do something very, very different. And also, we feel that blockchain particularly allows us to really think of alternative systems where, because of all the, and I'm sure we're going to talk about them, but because of all the advantages of peer-to-peer, decentralized platform, the fact that you can buy a digital asset, and that you can buy digital art that can be unique and you can own it, we felt that it allows us to imagine a completely different system in which artists are remunerated more fairly, and it's not a system that is depending on gatekeepers or on star systems where algorithms, even in digital art, the algorithms somehow only show you the most popular artists or the most sold artists. So it's always the same 5 or 10 people more or less that are always at the top, but you have all these other people, all these other artists who also deserve to be valued. And so we are creating a system that is going to give artists actually a universal or a guaranteed basic income. So a very different animal.
A very different. But may I ask you, during COVID, sorry to interrupt, did you see an uptake on the use of your platform on this drawing together? Did you see that? Was it
during the pandemic?
Yeah, this is my I think my question was my question was this first. What's going on with COVID? How this crisis can change the game for the artists? Yeah, let's talk about this, and about your platform as well.
Yeah, well, I think that we did see, I mean, I can't tell you that it was super dramatic, but because what happens in DADA is a lot of people come in, but not everybody draws. So with those, we did see people coming in, a lot of people come in to browse. Right now we have a lot of activity. And yes, of course, you know, people are cooped up at home, and it's, you know, it's also a kind of a stressful time. And so we saw people, you know, the artists that are very engaged were drawing. I think we're seeing more of an uptick now, to be honest. With when we published our paper, The Invisible Economy, we had a really great response from the community. And I have seen lots more artists kind of coming in and checking it out. But we did have, for instance, we did a drink and draw with our artists where like we got together in a Zoom meeting, and artists were, and this was organized by one of our artists. It wasn't even organized by us. They wanted to see each other while they were drawing, because, you know, in DADA you draw, but you don't necessarily, you know, you're not face to face. And so it was lovely. And so what is happening is, I think, we have seen, you know, the crypto was going up again. And when crypto goes up again, there's a lot of activity. At some point, ETH was, you know, had done a nice jump. And so in terms of art, of digital and rare art, I think there has been a lot of movement in the platforms that are selling the art, like Super Rare, and, you know, there's this Rarible, and a lot of new artists, and there's collectors collecting. So last year, well, you know, the crypto kind of tanked, and when crypto tanked, the art, the little crypto art community also was kind of depressed in a way. But now it's kind of, I think it's back again, and there's, it makes sense that people would, if you can't go to a gallery, if you can't go to a museum, if you can't really engage physically, it would make sense that you engage with art in a digital way. And so I think it's a combination of factors. Both the pandemic makes it for people to get more used to the fact that having digital art, it shouldn't be that different of actually having it on your wall. And so you can still collect it and enjoy it without, you know, the physical aspect of it that requires you to actually physically go to a gallery and, you know, do all of those things. Plus the fact that there has been a lot of wonderful, you know, traction and movement of artists selling their stuff. And so it's a very vibrant space right now.
So just, so I think Judy is in a slightly different artistic community, I would call it, right? So I'm targeting people that are less aware of the price of Ethereum in that sense, right? So I'm coming from a different side, but basically doing, putting things on the blockchain for transparency reason and for traceability reasons and for security reasons. And for the same, like if we take COVID, I mean, at least the international art world is pretty much bracing itself for another year of COVID existence, of a year where no big market happenings will be taking place, no centralized happenings, as the big art fairs most probably will not be happening, as Art Basel announced that there will be no Miami art fair, for example. So, and all of the traditional, let's say the big players in the traditional space, they also were forced to completely operate online. Judy's artistic community, they are very, very knowledgeable already, and they've been drawing. And here, so the art world was really faced to going online instantly, right? And when I started talking about and sort of pitching and sort of knocking at the doors and saying, what do you think about this, right? It seemed like something from the future, it's like, oh my God, this is not realistic. And now all of a sudden it became very realistic for everyone to actually deal with completely digital, to exist purely digital. And So the reality of implementing and looking into digital artists, on any platform became the reality. So everyone was forced to it. And if you think of a planning horizon that you have another year of digital existence, yes, and they want market transactions, they want to sell art and buy art. Yes, I mean, at least the gallerists are definitely looking into digital art, and as well as museums. So I did, so tomorrow Ars Electronica is opening, which is the biggest online or digital festival for digital art. And they are going fully online. And for that, I prepared a conference. I was speaking to different market participants and gallerists. And so the feedback that I got is that, yes, people that are having a gallery, a traditional gallery, that over the time of COVID, their most requested artworks were digital. They were digital because people could understand, because, I mean, this is screen-based, so you understand this is screen-based. You don't have the urge to look on the other side of the screen. You pretty much understand this is that. You don't have to hold it. And people get more comfortable with the idea. And again, what is the advantage of blockchain? That you actually know that you own it, and that it's yours, and that it's traceable, right? And so people get more comfortable, especially also, let's say, the younger generation of people that have an urge for the creative. And I think during COVID times, I mean, if you can hang out with friends or can't go to events, people look for that stimulation. And so it also, museum numbers, online visitors have been up. Gallery, also traditional galleries have seen an uptake on numbers, on visitor numbers of people just looking, whether it's traditional or digital, but anyway, they've seen an uptake on visitor numbers. So people do get more comfortable with that. And that being said, so museums are also preparing for an online existence, right? And so you can go around with a curator and see a show of physical work. But the impact, I'd say, of a screen-based, when you're at home, and I'm sitting now at home and looking at the screen and look at you, if you're actually at home and look at the work of art that is screen-based, that is intended for you to watch and perceive digitally, it's probably higher. And also, this is what you learned historically. This is how you grew up with, right? And this is what was also taught for a long time, but by museums and by galleries. Well, you should come and see the work live, then you actually understand what it is. And I've been always sort of fighting this idea. I always said, but not everyone can go to the Museum of Modern Art. If I sit somewhere far removed, and I'm from Kazakhstan originally, I cannot just go to the Museum of Modern Art and look at this piece of Chamberlain. I just can't, Please give me good online representation, because I happen to like Chamberlain. I might have not ever seen Chamberlain live, but I love what he did anyway. So this is, I think, people are getting more and more comfortable, is also the idea of not traveling, and also being more conscious of not traveling. So I think the demand is also there for good online content and good online art. So I just see,
I think it's wonderful what you're saying, because this is what even though we are in the crypto art community, yes, as you say, like these people, crypto artists already know how to handle, the smart contracts and the wallets, and the fact that more the mainstream art world has to come to digital in some way is really good, because I hope that there will be some sort of like meeting of the two, because blockchain is one of the first proven use cases for art, and for because of the transparency, because of the verification, because you can authenticate things, it has a really compelling use case for the traditional art world. But as you mentioned, now that we're all kind of going to have to adjust to living more digitally, there are so many opportunities also for people, not only to go to museums. I completely agree with you. I don't know if you were at the Digital Cadaf recently, which was really interesting. It was an interesting experience. We were all at home, but it was kind of trying to to seem like a space where you could move around. And I think that, you know, there's so much opportunity for developers and, you know, user experience people to create these amazing spaces. As, you know, also there's crypto voxels and, you know, like Decentraland, where crypto artists, it's like 3D spaces where you can actually feel, even though you're sitting in front of your desk, you can kind of walk into the gallery, see the digital art. So there are many different ways to show this art. And what you were saying really resonates, because it's true that, you know, now you could probably go to any great museum in the world, and digital allows you to learn more in depth about a piece of art. You know, if they show you Las Meninas and they have all these other screens about Velázquez and such visual, amazing richness, it certainly could be very enriching. There is obviously the you know, seeing art in front of your eyes in the physical sphere is a very powerful thing. It's a very powerful experience, but I do think that when you see what digital artists are doing, and because they also use the digital medium to enhance their art through the digital medium, it's also absolutely compelling. So more people need to learn that digital art is a thing. You know, it's as a lot of people, I think, are really hung up, so to speak, with the idea that art needs to be like touchable, hangable. And I always say, you know, if you can watch movies, if you can listen to music, if you can read books, if you can conduct your entire life, even your relationships digitally, why shouldn't you be able to collect art and enjoy art and create art digitally as well?
Yeah, and I see also among friends and colleagues that putting up screens, you know, as a platform for people that actually do enjoy the digital in a physical context, they put up screens and have their collection or artwork that they really like and that want to be around with. So I think also the physical components, how to show it and present it in your house, if you want to do so, they're also advancing and actually being more, let's say, as a household tool, right? So there are more and more screens that you can actually just buy and use as a household tool. So it's not intended for as a TV screen, but actually like a showing screen of an artwork. And I really like that, and people do collect, and I think this is the question of mass adaptation, right? So it's and I think Manana and we had a conversation last summer actually about it. It's about do I believe in mass adaptation? And I think COVID in that sense forced everyone to mass adopt to video conferencing, and so no one would go back to physical coffee anymore and travel through town if you can just do it via a conference call, right? And it was, I don't know, still half a year ago, it was still the usual that you would go for coffee still and would feel obliged that you would do that. So and with regard to that, so I think this has forced the mass adaptation on everyone. It's really understanding that digital art is on par with everything else, and how do we just incorporate how we do, and this is why I'm hung up, so to say, also on the management side of things between all the participants, right? How do you do the contractual part, and how do I know what I actually get? Because with digital media, it's you don't necessarily can show it everywhere, right? If you buy, so you have to actually really understand what you get, what you're allowed to, and what is the artist actually giving permission for you to do. And I think that's I mean, we are all forced into that situation, and I think the outcome is that people will use and take, let's say, the advantageous parts of it and put it into business. And whether it's the museums, that means they will also continue doing online programming. Why should they go back to just showing images when they see that there's demand for it worldwide to actually visit a museum? So they will continue doing that. And a lot of it will be digital art going forward, forcing curators to actually engage with artists that are crypto based. Yeah, and I think that's that's also, this hasn't been, there hasn't been this push towards it, but now people actually have to look, okay, what else? What did we overlook so far? We were so busy with white spaces and to showing in one spaces, which was great in and of itself, but we just overlooked this community that has been very productive, that has been speaking maybe a different language than we were used before, but maybe I should get an understanding for it. And I really like the work of Anika Maya. She's a great, I mean, she's a curator, but she's also a critic. She's going around, I mean, she really looks at it from an analyst eye, and she doesn't hold back from fields that she doesn't know. So I really like that, and I feel like people are following after. Like I see at least people are starting to dig up what she's been writing about, you know, and I see that also museums are doing that work now, and leading galleries are doing that work now, right? Because it's just hard to and still bet on a physical presence only.
Yeah. Also, I think in our case, for instance, the like NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens, are kind of like have exploded. And the thing is, like, what is also super exciting is that you can also collect art from your house. In the case of the crypto art community, you can, I mean, some of them have been fetching really high prices. You know, yesterday, I think a CryptoPunk was sold for $15,000. A CryptoPunk is a pixel kind of like this big, right? Somebody, you know, so it's not only, it's not about the price at all, but it's about the opportunity for regular people and for anyone, actually, if they, you know, to understand that you can own digital art. And it's a great also kind of entry into cryptocurrency in a way. You get your wallet, you buy your cryptocurrency, you buy some art, and this art can go up in value, and you can sell it on the secondary market. And all of a sudden, a lot of people who never had the opportunity to experience what it means to own art, to be a collector, to actually, you know, learn about art in that way. It opens like a whole new avenue for millions of people to do this. So I think it's like what you're saying, Christina. There's going to be like this back and forth between, you know, the art world is going to adopt these new, you know, this digital display, digital engagement, and hopefully, when I talk about mass adoption, I'm thinking mass adoption of cryptocurrency, mass adoption of people understanding that the blockchain, you don't really need to understand the technology, which is very complicated, but you do need to understand that you can have a digital wallet where there is no intermediary. You can buy work directly. I mean, you could go to certain galleries, but you can buy the work, you get the work, the contract, you know, the thing is minted, you buy it, and you get it almost immediately. And you can sell it yourself also. And so there's the immediacy and the directness of this is so different from the intimidating process. I mean, first of all, also it's more affordable because, you know, you can get NFTs for very affordably, and there's some wonderful artists, but also from like the fact that who is going to actually go to a white space gallery, knock on the door, inquire a price? You never see the price. You don't know what, you know, they're going to look at you funny. This entire thing that has been predicated on this exclusivity and the digital world is going to flatten, you know.
Definitely. And it's been already, I mean, during COVID, you see also galleries, also that in terms of price transparencies. I mean, people have been stating more and more the prices. And also what I liked when you talked about DADA is that you see the algorithm always like puts up the most searched for. But I think what I really love about digital art is that you can go pretty much down the rabbit hole, right? So if you're interested in one thing, and I mean, I love to use, and I think much of the art world, this is my prediction, and Manana, you asked about predictions, will go on the blockchain. Yeah, so I see not only inherently crypto artists, they will continue doing work and they are state of the art, but I also see, let's say, institutions, big collections going on the blockchain, and estates, artist estates, using film material going on the blockchain, and also seeing the potential of the reach, right? It's a different reach if you actually sit in a space and hand out or send or do not send physical copies. But if you are interested, I don't know, I use always like this example because it resonates, Japanese bondage photography, right? So there's contemporary and there is old collectible printed ones. And if this is on the blockchain, you can go very deep and down the rabbit hole and be a very profound collector in this, yeah? And this is out of your home, out of your very particular interest. And I think this can be the same for every interest there is, right? For every genre there is, and for every particular, I don't know, whatever time horizon you're looking for. And I think that is really interesting, that you finally can actually be the collector you dream of, right? Even for a very advanced collector, because it's just very hard if you have a very particular interest to actually even dream of owning this whole scope of your interest, because it's so rare, and that's good, but you will never get your hands on, or you will never see it. But when this work is put on the blockchain and is being managed by an estate, I mean, this is my prediction, right? This is my prediction in 10 years from now, of then that you actually can, as a museum or as a private person or as a starting collector, that you can actually eventually get that work. It will be priced higher or lower, but you can actually eventually buy it. And I think that's also, this is at least my prediction for blockchain adaptation in the art world, that I see all the players going on it and explore and see and use it to their particular advantage, how they can use it.
I think there's something also really interesting. I'm not sure that I am very good at predictions, but I think there's something interesting about the fact that there's a paradox. The digital space, of course, makes us feel maybe that we're a little bit more alienated in some way, because we're not actually there, like standing side by side at a gallery. But in my experience in the crypto art community, and in the experience of seeing what happens when collectors buy certain artists that they like saying, like, you just love a certain particular artist and you learn that there is a direct actual relationship, that what these peer-to-peer systems allow is, for better or for worse, artists and collectors can really interact directly. I think in the most cases, it's a very positive thing. In the crypto art world right now, we're seeing some interesting friction, because there have been some collectors that have bought a lot, spent a lot of money, and because of this kind of star system, there has been some griping, or these collectors have felt that they're entitled to dictate certain terms. And that's where, like, for instance, in the regular art world, maybe the fact that there's a gallery in between, or that there are certain experts, they kind of like, manage and negotiate. But in the crypto art world, it's all very direct. I think it's a good thing, no matter, however it happens, because artists are all of a sudden knowing their collectors directly and selling almost directly, and it creates community. Actually, it could be, for the most part, it's a very collaborative and collegial community. And the one thing that makes it less collegial is when the money comes in, and this is why at DADA we're doing something completely different, because we wanna prove that there is a way for art to be valued and to be enjoyed and to be collected and to be made, where more people make more, where not only 5 artists make all the money, where like more people, more artists can actually live from their art, which is our mission. So, but what blockchain brings is this immediacy and transparency and directness. And one of the things that is happening in our space is that we're seeing that we have the blockchain component, meaning the wallets and the smart contracts and the peer-to-peer buying and all of that. But we are, our colleagues are still using the market incentives, like they're using free market competition and scarcity. And what that does is that it creates the exact same conditions that happen in the art market outside of the digital blockchain purview, the exact same conditions. And, you know, some people may think, well, that's the way it is and that's fine, and the free markets and whatever. We feel we can do something different. But in the end, I think it's just, for me, it's a little bit frustrating that more artists are not with the game yet. Like I feel very hopeful by what Cristina is saying, that because of the pandemic, artists and museums and galleries and the entire thing are start going to looking into digital art as a real asset.
Solution. It's an asset. Yeah, it's really an asset. It's not. It's not only, you know, an artist being difficult, but it's a real asset. Yeah, it's a way to actually reach people and get people excited about art. If you can't invite them into your living room, you have to show them in their own living room. You know, so I think that that is key, because also the art ecosystem needs a certain number of players, right, to ignite the rest of the world sort of for art. If we shrink, so our the common interest is basically to have art seen. Yes, and if we reduced basically to digital only, then that's the chance for digital art, and we have to use it in the most professional and the most profound and the most in the best way possible. And I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, and they have two questions from our viewers. First of all, what should be like the thinking strategy for the investors? And second, what is the next? What is your advice for the art or design startups to stay alive now because of COVID? What is your maybe we should be proactive, or maybe looking forward?
Well, in terms of
the short advice, because they have the 10 minutes and a short advice, or maybe conclusion for the investors and for the art and design startups.
As far as DADA is concerned,
thank you, Inna, for your question.
We are not going kind of the investor route, because we're going to be launching a token, and it's not going to be a speculative token. It's going to be a token with which you can buy the art on DADA, and it's going to kind of be the engine for the economy that we want to create with art. So I don't know exactly what the question is about investing. We do not, of course, art can be an investment, but we think also art has an intangible value that is beyond what it can be, fetch in the market later on. And in terms of startups, I think that it's just a great opportunity. The pandemic has really laid bare a lot of the things in society that don't work. We have seen how tragic that is. We have seen that, our system relies on the exploitation of the people who are most essential for us to all be able to survive. We have seen that we have a terrible healthcare system. We have seen a lot of stuff, and it's a fantastic opportunity for anyone who wants to imagine new solutions, to rethink everything. I mean, we are aware that had we launched the invisible economy a year ago or 2 years ago, people would have thought we're crazy, because the world wasn't ready for it. But now, when we launched it, and we expected a backlash in some way, because we're saying we're not playing by free market rules in a way, we're doing something else. And the response has been overwhelmingly positive. So that tells me that people are very ready to look at alternate systems and alternate ways of doing things, whether it's, you know, museums opening themselves up digitally, whether it's people buying and creating art digitally. So my advice is to be really open and to try to think beyond the structures that we have in place.
Mm-hmm.
I think my
Thank
investment,
you, Judy. Yeah.
My investment advice would be, I think, as Judy said, I mean, art has and also other aspects other than pure investment. But if you look at investment and you're either knowledgeable on fine arts already, I would treat also the digital art. I mean, if you're looking at really approaching it from a purely investment standpoint, then you do the same. You actually look what people are doing. Is it consistent? Is it not only a 1 minute stardom? Yeah. Is it continuous? Is it an artist? And is it producing? So you will not get around just to buy. You will actually have to sort of get an eye also for digital art and look at different works. And then yes, you buy. Yeah? Yes, you buy as you do with other physical objects. And then from a portfolio, I don't know, like 20% will take off. Hopefully, right? So it's the same as with physical work, but it basically, you have to get informed, or you have to use people that are informed if you approach it from that way, and that's absolutely legitimate. And I think more and more people, so traditional collectors, should be looking at that, right? Looking at digital art and really get informed. And there are a couple of collectors that are purely collecting digital work. And in terms of startups in that space, and I think there's what Judy said, it laid bare all the different aspects that are not working. And I think, I mean, as I'm coming from that sort of traditional art world, and I think one is definitely educating museums in online navigation, right? How to use Twitch, how to use live tools, how to use other AI or AR tools, right? And how sort of quickly educating curators or anyone who's actually interacting with that client of yours, right? And understanding how to, like, your target audience. I mean, it was a different thing if museums were publishing their visitor numbers online, like every year their foot traffic. So they were publishing, and every year there was like, oh yeah, that many people, the Louvre, it's again the Louvre that got that many people. And now it's a different sort of, it's a different animal, right? You look at the visitors numbers, you see the demographics, where they're from, and what do they eventually, how can we have them stay longer, come back, bring their friends, yeah? And this is like, how can we enhance that? And I think there's a lot of space to educate, and if you're really internet savvy, and if you're a startup, how to do that, and how to translate that experience of a startup, and how can you bring that experience to that whole, let's say, museum space, museum and art space. And I think there's a lot of potential how to do that. I mean, I would love to see that, for example, you know, so where a museum can quickly educate their own people. So I think, and also in fundraising, I think, sorry to interrupt, yeah, and I think museums are looking what are the actual packages, what can an institution or an artist, together with an artist, what can they bring to the table to fundraise for a museum, which doesn't necessarily mean for the needs of a museum, but maybe to buy another artwork, or to do whatever they have to do, right? And I think it's also bringing new knowledge, again, being purely digital, so that you cannot go to a gala and be fancy, but what else is there that you can actually get in exchange for supporting that museum? And I think there's, again, on this fundraising spectrum, there's a lot to do, and I would love to see work being done there. And I mean, we have this fantastic museums, you know, that sort of need help, and also in terms of fundraising.
But you reminded me of something like when if people are thinking of investing in art, it's the most fun thing that you can do is invest in emerging artists. You know, it's like you're gonna get there at a time when you're going to maybe discover someone that may become, you know, an important artist. It doesn't really matter. You're gonna have fun discovering new people. It's still affordable, so it's something that I think the risk is not that great, and you get to know an entire new community of people. So it's not only the stuff that you may be investing and doing some good calls on what you spent and what you may be able to earn, but it's also all the value that you get from discovering new people, from getting to know a new community, from getting to know new art that is it's also just as valuable. So go for it.
What is the next big thing, like a new technology, maybe VR, maybe AR? What is the next thing in art? What do you think?
I think AR is. I would bet on it in terms of let's say public viewing in AR rooms, that you sign up, that you go with a friend, and that it becomes like a mass application for public shows. I'd say this is. I see mass adaptation for that.
I think there's a lot of stuff happening. Again, there are these spaces already online, like these like virtual reality worlds, like Decentraland in blockchain, crypto voxels, and other spaces where, you know, you can have that experience. Artists have done different shows, and you go into this entire world, and that is very popular in our community. There is also artificial intelligence, what people are doing with generative art, which is very interesting, using artificial intelligence to
layer Neuralink for the it's really great idea, like a Neuralink, and how we can use like the AI in art. It's really
some
nice.
artists that are doing beautiful work there. And as you know, VR is also very popular in CADAF Miami. You know, the people who had VR installations and AR, like augmented reality, that people really love that. And I mean, if you can't go anywhere, maybe you could do some sort of like 3D thing in front of your screen and get that 3D feeling, even without having to be physically in the space. For me, I think for us, NFTs are also super revolutionary, because NFTs, you can actually layer them. So you could have collaborative art where like somebody takes a drawing or some sort of art. You can add music, you can add animation, and each one of those things is going to be attributed to the contributor, because it's blockchain. So there's there's this whole new way of remixing art, where people can create a lot of really fun and interesting stuff. So it's a broad array of things.
Okay, it was like the so amazing time, and thank you, Judy. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
And see you next time. Let's talk. Yes, let's talk next time about new technologies too, about art and Thank you, ladies.
Hope to see you in person.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
Hopefully
bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.